So here we are. Yeah. So hi everybody. Well, welcome to Cybersecurity Connect. This is our March meeting. Happy St. Patrick's Day as well to all of you. Let me see. I'm going to share my screen. Uh, let's see. Come on. Screen two. Yeah. Big mouthful in terms of the title of today's thing. We're going to talk about something we don't often talk about. And yet, as I've worked in this space for, good God, 45 years. Uh, First up in the, you know, halls of aerospace, if you will. You have nuclear safety, nuclear missile safety and stuff like that. But then bringing it down to the last 25, 30 years, even working with smaller businesses, more and 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 more. And I say that not lightly. Things become a matter of not what you know as much as what you do in that moment of truth when you have to make a security related decision. What you do in that moment will determine whether you're successful or fail, whether the bad guys get in or you've blocked the cyber attack. Those are habits. Those things we do in the moment. We're not used to thinking about things as habits because most of the habits we have are kind of automatic. They're just there, and we'll give some examples of that as we move forward. Um, so I want to talk about habits from the perspective of cybersecurity. This is not an abstract talk about habits. It's very much applied engineering, if you will, to the subject of cybersecurity. First, I want to distinguish between spam and a phishing attack. There we go. I don't know if you're like me. I mean, I get 100,000 emails a day that are just, NSA, Southern California, Spencer C., whoever Spencer C. is, I don't have a clue. The Democracy Mobilization Project, the Exceptional Children's Foundation, I give them money. International Medical Corps, I don't know any, but and you can see the list. These are not phishing attacks. Get rid of them. Just whatever you see them, right? I have a friend of mine who's had the same email address for 20 years. And he tells me he bemoans the fact that the first, he spends 15 minutes just getting through all the spam stuff. I said, David, you ever thought of getting a new email address? Oh, hadn't thought about that. Do it. Get all your spam as much as you can out of your spam boxes. I've got like 5 email addresses, 3 of which are almost entirely nothing but spam. But the ones that matter, my Secure the Village one, yeah, I get spam there occasionally too. These don't happen to be from it, but they're not overwhelming. What we're concerned about is and I've been getting a lot of these lately. These are quote from DocuSign. Amber Myers sent you a document to review and sign. Review document. I don't know who Amber Myers is. I certainly don't know if you look up the email address, brutalitysugar.co.ke. That's a phishing attack. That's a phishing attack. You want to recognize it and get rid of it as fast as you can. The challenge, and this is where we get into habits. The challenge is right here in this email. It goes back to Pandora's box 2,000 years ago. It can't hurt to open one little attachment, can it? Well, yes, it can. Because that one little attachment opens up the door into your computer or into your company's computers through that little attachment that you open. And habit creates the habit that we have. We have a habit of trust, which for a lot of times is a good thing to have when business works on trust. Business works that way. You do your work, you send in an invoice, you get paid, right? I mean, there's trust built in that whole system that way. So we're kind of designed to trust, not always. We'll look at some counter examples. Just to illustrate how bad phishing is, and I got just a couple of things, notes on this. One's from a Fox Hunt survey that 80 to 90% of incidents, that is, when they get in the back, they get in, the attack has succeeded. 80 to 90% of those originate with a phishing or some other kind of what's called a social engineering engagement. In other words, they're attacking the human, us, to be most specific, and the people we work with, and the people we lead in our companies. That's who's being attacked. If you look at Verizon's data breach investigative report, most recent one, and now we're talking about breaches where actually PII, private information of other people, is obtained. 36% of those begin with phishing. AI only makes this whole thing worse. And if you heard what I talked about before, don't read this. It's too long. It's the burden. There's a big burden on IT over all of this because the bad guys are getting so good that it's harder for the tools that the small business MSPs use to track down what's legitimate and what isn't. So the burden on IT has gone up as well as the burden on the user. So this is really bad. This is bad shit, forgive the language. And the obvious reality, I mean, like, duh, we need to do better. But the key point is we can do better. We've got this miraculous brain, and we'll get into it in a couple of minutes. This miraculous brain that helps us get better the more we practice it. That's what's amazing. So we're going to go down the habits rabbit hole for a moment. Um, Most specifically, I don't know how many of you have heard of Pavlov. Does it ring a bell? Please let me see some smiles on your faces. That you get this, you know. This is the key to the whole thing. It's Pavlov. If you look at Pavlov and the dog, there's something called the brain's neuroplasticity here. And the way it works, Pavlov would ring the bell. After hearing the bell a sufficient number of times, the dogs would equate ringing the bell with getting food, and they would immediately start to salivate because dogs salivate in the presence of, in preparation for eating food. And it became an automatic habit, like the song, it's getting to be a habit with me. Response, Pavlov feeds the dog. The reward, dog gets to eat. This is the way habits work. They have a cue, something that happens that triggers a craving. That craving elicits a response. In this case, it's Pavlov and the dog going back and forth. Later, it's going to be just us. But that craving elicits the response. And then from the response, completing the response, you get the reward. The dog eats. This is the way habits are. They play out this way. When I said to a friend of mine at dinner a couple of weeks ago that pretty much everything we do is a habit, she says, "Oh, come on. Getting up in the morning, that's a habit?" No. And I said, "Yeah, let's take a look at it. What's the cue? Maybe the sun rises, maybe the alarm goes off because you set it for a meeting. Maybe you got to get up to go to the bathroom. There's a cue. There's a craving when we wake up. This is part of what's being human. It's just the excitement of it. There's a meet, let's go meet the day. Carpe diem, seize the day. Response, we get out of bed and we seize the day. I mean, it's not rocket science. We've been doing this for millions of years. Just we don't think of it as a habit. That's what's different. I want us to start thinking of these things as habits because it's in the creation of our habits that we solve this cybersecurity challenge that we face. Um, Here's another habit, one that we create ourselves. We have a habit to work out. I know some of you run. I certainly used to. I still work out. The cue, the trainer arrives. She comes to the house twice a week. I might walk into the gym. Might be a time of day where I set my clock. I want to go walk for 20 minutes. You know, the craving. Well, it feels good to work out. You might not want to do it because you're lazy. I'll put my hand up there, often I am. but it feels good. Yeah, there you go, John. Thank you. Yeah, it feels good. You feel active. You feel strong. You feel a sense of accomplishment. You celebrate. These are the two most important. One, you get to celebrate success, and celebrating success is part of the success strategy of building good habits. And you also get to reward yourself. You get to pick something you can do. Maybe it's have a candy bar. Maybe it's have a sandwich. Uh, maybe it's go spend 15 minutes reading a book that you're in the middle of. Something you enjoy doing. You set that yourself. You get to choose the reward. Okay, there's the cravings. You work out, and all of those rewards, all of those things you craved. Yeah, yeah. Um, there's another book. Thanks, Mark. Here, let me bring in Jerry. Um, Tiny Habits, Atomic Habits, excuse me, Atomic Habits that plays into this same space. But yeah, a lot of good stuff on habit building. A lot of good stuff. I encourage everybody to, you know, make copies of what goes into the what goes into the your takeaway from this, if you will. So the key to all of this, oops, I didn't mean to show that quite that fast. Oh well, repetition. Repetition is what makes it work. The picture you see. So 2009, my wife and I go to Africa for the very first time. We've been there since as well. Day one, we're out with our friends and the guide. And after driving around for about 45 minutes, he stops and he points over, like over to the right. You see the lions? And I'm looking, I don't see any lions. What are you talking about? There are no lions over there. They're not there. Sorry. He says, no, 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 look, see the brown versus the green. And I'm partly colorblind, so it made it more difficult. Uh, but I just couldn't see it. I couldn't see it. He kept encouraging me. That's the key here. And my wife, Rita, our friends, they began to see it. And suddenly it was like, holy crap, that's a lion. I saw it for the first time. 2 weeks later, I'm out with them and I'm seeing lions wherever there are lions. What was very hard the first time to see has become easier the more often I saw it. This is the way the brain works. That repetition makes things easier, makes things easier for us to do those things that we want to do, whether it's seeing lions or other things. First time we do it, we struggle with it. We go into, if you've read Daniel Kahneman's work on system one, system two thinking, we go into system two thinking, which is a big cognitive overload for the brain. Takes work. We don't like to go to system two. We'd like to stay in the automatic space, what Kahneman calls system one. So it's hard to see. But what happens is it gets easier to practice. And I offer you the following. How many of you are right-handed? Probably 80% of you, yeah. And for those who aren't, flip it around. Try brushing your teeth with the opposite hand. I'm right-handed. The first time you do it, it's like, where's my mouth? I can't find my mouth even, let alone brush my teeth. By the time you do it 20 days, it's automatic. It's like running. By the time you've done it 20, 30 days, that cue hits you, you go get your running shoes. I've been there, I've done that. I know that. It's that repetition. And that repetition is very specific to our brains. We rewire the brain. The brain rewires itself through the experiences we give it. It's not this thing locked in concrete. So I want to stop here. I've talked for about 10 minutes, 12 minutes maybe. Go into a little bit of discussion, pause the recording. Um, Good. So we're going to create now a no-fish habit. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to create a good habit to replace a bad habit. Very intentfully. So here's the bad habit. We've already talked about it. Assume an email is okay unless you know it's bad. Meyer, that's what you just said you do or did, right? Now, we want to replace it with assume an email is bad unless you know it's okay. I'm deleting this email. I can't be sure it's safe. That's the habit we want. That's the habit we want. If we don't know it's safe, it isn't. All right, if we mess up sometimes and it really was safe, they'll send it to us again. They'll pick up the phone and call us. Or maybe it's legitimate, but it's not that important anyway. So what do we care? Right? Assume an email is bad unless you know it's okay. So we're going to start the subject, the habit creation by looking at what I'm calling our desired response. And this is AARP did this. Their focus is on families, individuals, retired people, scams, romance scams, pig butchering, all of that sort of stuff. But it's the same principle. And it's three words: pause, reflect, protect. And let's go through. And this is what we wanted when we see that email that may or may not be a phishing email. These are the steps we want to take. We want to first pause. We want to then reflect on the email. And then we want to protect. So pausing. Is the email asking us to do anything? Are there links or attachments? Is there a sense of urgency? Does it threaten action? Is there a demand for payment? If you don't pay this now, we will cancel your account and you will lose, yada, 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 yada. You know, is there a threat for action? If you don't open this email and do what we're saying, we're going to sue your ass, you know? Demand for immediate action or payment. Does it look like it comes from an authority? And does it create strong emotions? What happens when an email hits our brain? And these are some of the things in it. It hits our emotional centers. It hits us emotionally. And that's no accident. This is what the cybercriminals are doing. They want it to hit us emotionally so that we will take action. Pausing calms down the system. And that automatic fear response has a chance to transfer into what, Meyer, you were just talking system two thinking. Let's look at this thing. Let's look at this thing a little more carefully, you know? So we reflect. Does the email make sense? Is it expected? Do I know the sender? Is it like that email I showed earlier? The phishing attack, the DocuSign? Totally no, I don't know who this person is there. I don't know their email address. I don't know anything about them. Does the sender's email address match the alleged dupe? Are there any reasons here for you to click on that email? And if the answer is no, delete the email. That's the response we want. That's the response. Delete it unless you know that it's safe. Switch that. Oh, it's probably safe. It's probably okay. That's what got Pandora into trouble back in Grecian days. I'm not opening up this thing because I just don't know if it's safe. First time you do this, it's going to take a chunk of time as you reflect. The reflection will not be well, it may be because some of you have been doing this for years. But if you're new to thinking this way, it'll take a little, you got to think about it. You got to think about it. But that's where the brain's neuroplasticity comes in. By the 10th day, the 20th day, the 30th day, you don't have to think about it as much. It becomes much more automatic. The brain gets much more effective over time. As you build the habit, the brain adapts. So this is, this is that final point here that just we get more effective over time as we do this, as we do this. So with that, the next piece of it is what's the craving and what's the result? And this is where each one of you, and it goes back to what you talked about earlier with getting up early in the morning. Man, that's something I could never do. But I'd had no trouble running at 9:30 at night after dinner, when I was a runner. I looked forward to that. I lived in Massachusetts for a while. And in the winter, it was great getting out, cold night, run around a 6 Mile lake, do it at 9:30 at night. You got the stars above. You know, each of us has to find the craving and the result that works for us. But what we want them to do is to match. This is where we get to play God, you know? This is where we get to play God. Um, because we get to set the craving and the result. First of all, a certain set of things are going to be automatic. You're going to feel good, you're going to feel empowered, you'll feel more confident, you'll feel accomplishment. The last two things. Establish a reward. I don't care what it is. Each of you's got to find your own reward that's going to give you the motivation in that craving to get up and actually do it. And that's on you. I mean, pick it. Go for a walk with your dog when you're done. Have a candy bar. Uh, whatever, whatever works. And the other thing as well, there are some people and some people's critics, when somebody does something that's hard, they've accomplished it. The first words out of their mouth is, well, here, you could have done better. That is the most destructive thing you can do. Celebrate your success. All right. Yeah, I wanted to run 8 miles today, but I'm tired. But I went out and I ran 6. I ran it. I kept the habit alive. Celebrate it. Don't beat yourself up because you didn't do it, oh, I wanted to run 8-minute miles and I ran 8:10s. So what? So what? Celebrate, 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 and give yourself that reward because those are the encouragements that are going to keep it on. They're going to keep this habit getting stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger because that happens over time. The neuroplasticity of the brain. We get to take advantage of it. And I know, I mean, Mike, you're a runner. I know Daisy is as well. I used to be. I'm not sure who else is. Running's a good example of what I'm talking about, the other side. But the magic, and in some ways it is magic, this brain we've got, you know, that we get to create both the craving that we are going to receive at the end as our reward, line them up. So we are encouraged to implement the response. Pause, reflect, protect. In other words, we line things up to support us these ways, just like we line up those things when we're running or any other habit that we are creating. The result is exactly what you want it to be. Pandora is no longer opening up emails just because, oh, can't be bad. No, Pandora is deleting it. And Jerry, yes, you can overthink it. I don't want to overthink it. Just delete it. You know, just delete it. Uh, Quarantining it, well, then you got to come back and look at it and follow up with anything that might be. No, if you're not sure, delete it. Just pure and simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. Sorry, but that's part of what this is all about. When you're out there on that 6 mile run, don't be, yeah. Yeah, quarantine is a good example when you're teaching people. Absolutely. But when you're out there running and you're on that 6 mile or 8 mile or 10 mile run that you go on, don't be thinking about it. Let your mind go wherever your mind is going to go when you're running, because that's part of the beauty of running. It goes into, Mark, what you were talking about earlier of meditation. I mean, running is a form of meditation. I mean, I learned that in my years of running. It's just all of those things. So just kind of go with the flow. Go with the flow those ways. So with that, what do you do? Two things. First, immediately, before you do the next thing you're going to do after this meeting, schedule yourself 30 minutes to build your personal habit of pausing, reflecting, and protecting. If you're a cybersecurity leader in your company, build it not just for you, but start thinking about what are the pause, reflect, protect things you want in your company. How do you match cravings and rewards? Because the corporate culture is every bit as neuroplastic as the individual brain is. So we can take advantage of that as well. But schedule it. 30 minutes. That's all I'm asking you to do. And then once you've scheduled it, you now know your cues, you know your cravings, you know the results you want, and you know your rewards. Live it. Practice it diligently each time you open up your email. Um, Regular repetition is important. So again, it's like running. You know, you don't have to do it every day. If someday just, oh God, you're just not up to it, or you've got way too much work to do, all right, you got to skip a day, skip a day. Don't skip 2 days. Because once you skip 2 days, you're now kind of going back to old habits. It's another way to say it. You don't have to be perfect, but you do have to show up. You got to show up. You got to be proactive in this. And when you do that, these small actions that you're taking, is this email from this? Do I know the sender? Questions like that. Um, all of those things come to the surface, and you get better. Small actions compound. That's the message here. So, I mean, that's what this is all about. It's, oops, oop, where are we? Yeah, yeah. That's what we're all about. Do this diligently, do this regularly. And you'll find that over time, you, and if you're the cybersecurity leader in your company, your people who you are also training in all of this, you'll all become better. And you're the first line of defense. All of us. We are the first line of defense. So we'll get better at this. And all we got to do is do it. With that, I'm going to stop the recording and let's have a discussion. It's 20 to 5.